Good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming. We're gathered here today on the traditional territory of the signatories of Treaty 7, and I also want to acknowledge the Métis people who share a deep connection with this land. My name is Denis Ram, and I'm the Alberta NDP candidate for Calgary Paygan. And today I'm joined by Kathleen Ganley, the Alberta NDP energy critic and candidate for Calgary Mountain View, and Zev Klimochko, a resident living in the riding I hope to represent, who's been graciously opening his doors for us today. We're now nearing the end of the second week of this election campaign. And we've been hearing from Albertans about what we can do to make life more affordable for Albertans everywhere. Right now, Albertans are loaded with massive bills for their electricity rates. These are historically high prices that Albertans have never seen before. Every month, it gets worse. Enough is enough. Many Albertans don't ever recall their electricity rates being this high. For more on what we'll do to make life more affordable for Zev's family and so many others in the same situation, I'll now turn things over to Kathleen.
Thank you very much, Denis, and thank you, Zev, for having us in your beautiful home. Denis is right. Skyrocketing utility bills under the UCP are a huge problem, a problem that the UCP have contributed to and failed to address. In 2019, the UCP removed the price cap implemented by the NDP government on the regulated rate option. That's the default plan, leaving regular families exposed to price spikes. Now, power prices are 140% higher than when the UCP took office, but they peaked around 330% higher. For months, Albertans asked for help dealing with the rapidly rising costs, but the UCP didn't care. That is, until an election year. They brought in a loan deferral scheme in an attempt to trick Albertans into thinking that they were protected. But all that did was kick the can down the road and saddle Albertans with more debt in the middle of an affordability crisis. Albertans are on the hook to pay back over $200 million from this deferral scheme. Albertans on the default rate now owe $200 million in Danny debt because of the UCP's payday loan. More debt is the last thing that Albertans need right now. The public has every right to be frustrated by Danielle Smith's loan payback plan. Albertans deserve better. They deserve real help. No Alberta family should have to choose between buying groceries and keeping the lights on. That's why an Alberta NDP government will act immediately to pay off the remaining Danny debt, putting over $180 million back into the family budget. In addition, we will lower power bills by reinstating a rate cap for the summer. From July to September, the RRO will be capped at 12 cents per kilowatt hour. That's up to average household consumption. The current RRO is more than 16 cents and is expected to nearly double by August. This cap will provide needed stability and price relief over the summer months. The emergency measures will protect Albertans even in the event that prices skyrocket again, as they are currently predicted to do. In total, we believe that these two policies will save Albertans $320 million. We understand that these are short-term solutions to fix the mess created by the UCP, and we need to come up with long-term solutions to lower bills and stabilize electricity prices. According to a report from the University of Calgary, price markups for home utilities have increased 5-fold. The report found that there is less competition in the sector, which allows companies to exercise more power over the market and increase prices. We are also announcing that the Alberta NDP government will launch an investigation into power prices to determine what's causing sustained high prices as well as price spikes and how to bring these prices down and protect consumers over the long term while protecting grid stability. I'll now hand it over to Zev to share his experience.
Thanks, Kathleen. I've lived in Calgary for a long time, and since we've moved here, I've made sure to follow my bills pretty closely. We track our power bill and we pay attention to how much we're using, water, electricity, all of it. Years ago, a cold winter month would run us approximately $200 to $300 a month in bills. In the past 3 years, we've seen our bills climb, and they're consistently in the $650 to $700 a month range. It's been challenging to manage our budget since our bill has doubled. We're watching all of our bills all very closely, and we've had to be very choosy about things like programming for our daughter. We buy more off-brand groceries and sometimes opt for less healthy options. It's honestly been quite brutal. We're lucky enough to have a locked-in mortgage rate because I couldn't imagine how we'd handle any other increases right now to our monthly bills. I know we all have a part to play, so I did the responsible thing. I installed new windows and a high-efficiency furnace, but it's not making any difference. Having our rates capped would be such a relief. It'd be like winning the lottery for us, to be honest. To have a few extra $100 a month in our pocket would make a huge difference. Thank you.
Thank you very much for sharing your experience of. Sadly, we've heard from far too many families that are in the same position right now and are desperate for any kind of relief. Alberta's NDP is focused on real issues and coming up with real solutions. We're focused on helping Alberta families, and we won't let you down. Together, we will build a better future for Alberta. Thank you, and I'm happy to take your questions.
We will now turn it to questions. For those joining by Zoom, it's either the raise hand function or *9 by phone. We'll start with questions in person. State your name and affiliation.
Marc-Antoine Leblanc, CBC French, Radio-Canada. You said that today's announcement are mostly short-term solutions. Other than the investigation to determine what causes the high prices, could you say what are the longer-term solutions?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think we have, we have some idea of what the long-term solutions are. So part of it is about ensuring that we're increasing supply. Part of it, too, is about enabling storage on the grid. So the UCP passed legislation to make that happen, but they've sort of been dragging their heels about bringing in the tariff, like the solutions to the tariffs that would allow energy storage to actually participate in the grid. And that would potentially help a lot because we have a lot of low-cost renewables available on our grid. But because we don't have storage, that means that during certain time periods, the supply is really limited, and that allows folks, certain folks, to really drive up the costs.
Perfect. We'll go now to those joining by Zoom. Again, please state your name and affiliation.
Hi there, it's Kathleen Gurkowski, Alberta Today. I'm wondering, with the cap, what would you do to prevent a price spike when it's over? Like, I'm wondering, are you looking at somehow making up the difference between what the price would be and what consumers will pay in the meantime? Or is it going to be a situation where the companies are going to run to the AUC and saying, hey, we now need 35 cents per kilowatt hour price because we lost so much money over the summer? Like, how are you going to prevent that price spike after the cap's lifting?
So the point of the cap is to be in place for 3 months. At the same time, if we are elected, we will bring in an investigation. And so that investigation will tell us more about what's kind of driving the difficulties and what the potential solutions are for consumers to ensure that we're ensuring affordability while also making sure that we deal with reliability of the grid. So the price cap is a temporary measure, and then after that we would reevaluate. So it's quite possible that we would be looking to extend that. The reason we're talking about this temporary price cap at this moment is because currently prices are predicted to hit 30 cents for consumers on the regulated rate option. So that's anyone who's on the default rate that isn't on a fixed term contract. And what we're hearing from Albertans is that the family budget just cannot absorb that kind of price increase at this point.
Catherine, do you have a follow-up?
Yeah, what would be the parameters of this investigation? Like, would you be investigating the companies, the Alberta Utilities Commission, ISO? Like, what, when you say investigation, what do you mean by investigation?
So what we would be investigating is what has sort of caused these kind of sustained high prices and what's going into these kind of price spikes that we're seeing. So essentially what we would be asking the investigator to determine is, what can the government do to bring down prices? What can the government do essentially to protect the public? Because that's what we're talking about at the end of the day, and that's what a government should be focused on, is the public interest. And right now, the public is really really being pushed. Like most households are having a real challenge with their budgets. We see mortgage rates going up, we see the cost of utilities going up, we see the cost of insurance going up. People that are in school, the cost of tuition is going up, the cost of groceries is going up, and so people are just really, really pinched right now, and utilities is one of the big sources of that. So essentially what we'd be asking them to determine is, what changes can the government make to bring down those prices over time, so that things are affordable for consumers going forward.
Great. We'll do one more pass for questions. First in the room. And one more pass online. Seeing none, that concludes today's press conference. Thank you very much.
Thank you.